the Global Youth Mental Health Awareness and also a Global Goodwill Ambassador. Hello and welcome to the show, Edith.
Thank you so much, Katina.
Thank you. And our second panelist is Deepshika Tripathi. Deep is a counselor, life coach, founder at Prayers Trust, project director at Poon Pentham. Hello and welcome to the show, Deep. Okay. Our third guest, okay, not sure she's on there yet.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
And do we have Gloria? Gloria is here. So our third panelist is Gloria Madhu. Gloria is the founder of Giant Strides Initiative. She's a medical student volunteer at the SRHR and also a Global Youth Mental Health Ambassador and volunteer. Hello and welcome to the show, Gloria. Okay, now fourth panelist is Amadi Vivian Akuyoma. Vivian is a Center for Peace Advocacy and Sustainable Development volunteer. She's also a Global Youth Mental Health Ambassador and a volunteer. Hello and welcome to the show, Vivian. And then we have our fifth panelist is Toli Papadopoulos. Toli is a Global Youth Mental Health Awareness Public Officer and a Corporate Communications Officer at Environment Protection Authority. Hello and welcome to the show, Toli. And then we have our last panelist is David Naboare. David is the National President of Ghana National Association of Community and also the Mental Health Officer and Chief Executive Officer at David Naboare Foundation. Hello and welcome to the show, David. Now in today's show, we're going to be sharing, educating, and talking about young people's perception about mental health. So how are we feeling today and what inspires you to help others? Who wants to start? You can unmute yourselves.
Okay, I think I will start.
Go for it.
Yeah,
But tell us, first of all, tell us how you're feeling and what inspires you to help others.
Okay, I'm feeling so great today, actually, because it's my fourth time to be on this panelist, and it's always great. Looking forward every Thursday for this conversation. So I'm really feeling great, and also meeting new people every Thursday. So that makes me feel really good. What inspires me to help other people? I think the inspiration comes from my mom because she's a very philanthropic person. And just seeing her give back to other people has really inspired me. And I always like seeing other people smile and just making a difference in their lives. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Who else wants to tell us how they're feeling this evening and what inspires you to help other people?
Now it's my turn.
Yeah, I can start.
Okay. So I'm feeling amazing today because I'm here first time as speaker. So that really an amazing feel. And yeah, when it comes to what inspires me, so that's just that sense of happiness and contentment, which I get from helping people. That's something most relevant, which I get from this. So that's my inspiration too.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
something which inspires me. Yeah.
Thank you. What about Vivian, Toli? How are we feeling this evening and what inspires you to help others? Please unmute yourselves.
All right, I'll go. How am I feeling today? Well, a little bit tired from having a very, very long day very long day at work. What inspires me to help others? Well, I've had some hard times in my life, just like we all have. And, I had a period many years ago, almost 10 years ago, of experiencing anxiety and taking ownership of that and helping myself through these hard times has made me want to resolve to help others and help them do. And the most powerful thing for me, I think, is the fact that we can change our minds, and the brain is plastic. So I'm here to provide that advice, and that's my main message tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Who else have we not heard? Tolly, Vivian, do you want to tell us how you're feeling?
I can say that I'm doing good. I'm very great. I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm feeling great. Thank you. And I'm inspired by making a world a better place. And by making the world a better place to make others different changes in people's life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we've got Gloria. I'm not sure what's happening with Gloria. She's not able to hear us, or she cannot join. Gloria, please, if you're here, can you tell us how you're feeling and what inspires you? Okay, Gloria, not sure if you can hear us. Gloria? Okay, we'll just move on because I'm not sure what's happening with Gloria's connection. So what are the signs of mental illness? I know last week we defined what mental illness is. So today we're talking about mental illness. What are the signs of it? Who wants to go?
Okay. Go first. The signs of mental illness, such as stomach pains, and back pain, headache, and the feeling sad, suicide thinking. And also, sometimes you see the person withdrawing himself or herself from friends and daily activities, sleeping problems, sex drive and changes. Thank you.
Yeah. Who wants to contribute more to that? What are the signs of mental illness?
Okay, we have got a person could start having signs of hallucination and just sleeping problems. They will have excessive worry, fear, and anxiety. A person could be angry and irritable. They will experience body pains, and also they will just withdraw from the other people. So they will not want a social connection with other people, and just feeling like they are worthless and helpless. Yeah.
Right. Anyone else wants to contribute to that? What are other signs of mental illness that have not been mentioned?
Yeah, so emotional outbursts, you might be feeling quite stressed after a long day at work, and then you might have an outburst at your partner or your friends, and you're not realizing that what's actually dictating that is your thoughts and feelings and stress, and it's stress in your body, and sometimes that can then contribute in the long term to long-term depressive symptoms.
Yes. Any Deep, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, sure. Changes in motivation level is also one of the most important signs.
Yes.
As well, definitely disturbance in sleep patterns, appetite, and just moving apart from friends, losing interest in the things which one usually just enjoy to do, and just withdrawal. Withdrawal symptoms are there usually. These are some signs. Yeah.
Okay, now Gloria, are you back? Did you want to contribute? Because I can't actually see you. David too, I can't see you, David.
And
David?
I would like, hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I would like to add some more points. And definitely, there are changes in concentration level too. Basically, there are 7 signs. And if 5 are present, then one can go for diagnosis. That's very important. That's basically number 1, sleep patterns, then appetite, then lowering of concentration, then motivation, and then withdrawal. These are five symptoms. And apart from this, moving apart from friends and definitely feeling a bit low or down. That's all.
All right, thank you,
from my
thank
side.
you.
Yeah.
Anyone else wants to add? I can see we've got David, but I'm not sure why he's not able to come on the screen. Can anyone see David? Or Gloria? I'm not able to see them on the screen, but they say they're here. Okay, so moving on. What do you think are youth perceptions of mental illness? What do the youth think about mental illness?
So shall I?
Yes.
Yeah. So in terms of today's youth perception, they are comparatively very much aware and a forward kind of person. They are with a forward mindset. So those stigmas or stereotypes don't come in their way to just approach for psychological support or anything else. Instead, they are just believing in just speaking up, whatever going inside them. They are capable of expressing that. Yeah, definitely culture to culture it varies because cultural factors are always there. So we can't deny that. Still, lots of we can see really a lot of improvement in that area when it comes to perception of youth. So
Right,
that's
right,
from my
right.
side. Yeah.
So what about anyone else? What did you like to add? What do you think is a youth perceptions on mental illness?
Yeah, I can say that the youth perception of mental illness tend to be associated with negative feelings such as sadness, worries, depression, loneliness, anger, and fears.
Right, right, right. Edith, Tolly, what do you want to add on that? What are youth's perceptions on mental health, mental illness?
Yeah, well, I think there's still a stigma towards mental health issues, and it's still particularly in the workplace. So we're afraid of pulling a sickie, and telling the boss that that's because of a mental health issue. Looking at some research that was done about 5 years ago by the National Survey of Mental Health Literacy and Stigma and Discrimination. This was prepared for the New South Wales Mental Health Commission, and it looked at young people and youth, and it found that perceptions of likelihood of discrimination and unpredictability, these perceptions that we discriminate were higher for mental health conditions like chronic schizophrenia. And also the belief in the problem as a sign of a weakness of mental health issues or not a real medical illness. And that's what I say when I talk about the workplace, it's not a real illness. That was more common for social phobia. So I think despite the fact that that research was done many years ago, it's still a problem at organizations like Beyond the Blue continue to highlight, and education is important. It's important understanding that these problems don't go away, and people are not flawed, and treatments can be effective, but we have to just keep educating and destigmatizing, if you like, among our youth.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Edith?
Yeah, I think the youth have this notion that having a mental illness is shameful. It means that you're weak, you're crazy, or you're a dangerous person, or maybe you're foolish. So because of all these, the stigma and the stereotypes, it's what makes youth not want to come out in case they are having a mental health challenge. Yeah, so those are the perceptions that youth normally have.
Right. Now I'm just wondering if Gloria and David are back here because we're not able to add them. They seem to be here, but something is happening that is not allowing us to let them in. Okay, I guess we'll just continue with the conversation. So can stress cause mental illness? Edith, since you're already here, do you want to start?
Yes. Stress can cause mental illness. The reason why stress can cause mental illness is because it is a life experience. For example, let's say you've lost a loved one or you've gone through a stressful event in your life. And so when stress is prolonged, it can lead to depressive feelings. So it can actually cause a mental illness. Yes.
Okay. Anyone else wants to add to that? Can stress cause mental illness?
Yeah, so I'm here for that.
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, yeah, sure. Stress acts as trigger basically. So whenever any history is there, then a person whenever faces stressful situation, then usually what happens, that triggers that, and it comes in the form of mental illness if it's prolonged. So definitely there's a link between stress and mental health. That's something we can't undeny, we can't deny that. So
Right.
that's very significant. Yeah.
Right. And is it easy to know if your type of stress you've got is actually contributing to your mental health or mental illness? What are the signs? How can someone know?
Like if one is just facing having anxiety attack due to some stressful situation, okay, or all of a sudden palpitation or just shortening of breath or such symptoms are there, and then if one person finds himself or herself like not capable of dealing with their regular life stresses
Right,
as
right.
well. Yeah, some a special kind of stresses like as Edith has mentioned already, just losing loved one, or that's some kind of going through divorce situation, or demise of loved one, something like that. So that acts as trigger, which
Right,
just finally, yeah, outcome as mental illness. If that
right,
person has family history of mental illness, so
right, right.
definitely that acts as triggers. Yeah.
Yes.
So
And
that was from my side.
yeah, anyone else wants to add to that? Can stress cause mental illness?
Yeah, I can say yes. Stress may contribute to serious health problems, such as a heart disease, high blood pressure, and other illness, including mood disorder, such as depression.
Sorry, I think we got cut out there. We didn't hear that very well.
Okay, I said stress may contribute to serious health problems, such as heart disease, high blood pressure, and other illness, including mental disorder, such as depression.
Okay, okay. Anyone else? Anyone else wants to contribute to that? Can stress cause mental illness? Otherwise, we'll move forward. So what triggers mental illness? What are your thoughts on that? What triggers mental illness?
As already we have mentioned that, yeah, losing a loved one, uncertain demise of some family member, or facing just going through a divorce process, fine, such events just triggers that mental illness if we have a family history of that.
Right, right. Anyone else? What triggers mental illness?
Yes.
Anything you can add?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for that question. We have different triggers of mental illness, and the first one is genetics. When we have a family history of mental illness, and that is maybe a very close family member, like a parent or a sibling, so a person is likely to have a mental illness. Then we have biological factors such as a chemical imbalance in the brain that can also lead to a mental illness. Then we have life experiences, like we said, the triggers, maybe the loss of a loved one, or just when you're abused, maybe when as a child or going through domestic violence could also trigger a mental illness. And also we have a traumatic brain injury. Maybe you have an accident that caused a brain injury. It could also trigger a mental illness. And also when a pregnant mother is exposed to toxic substances or chemicals, that could lead to a mental illness. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else wants to add to the triggers of mental illness? Anyone wants
So
to
in
add on to
short,
that?
yeah. In short, we can say that it's nature versus nurture kind of thing. So when it comes to mental illness or what thing just plays behind it, we can say that, yeah, genetic factors, and then as I have already mentioned, nature versus nurture. So whatever like brain chemical imbalances, as already she has mentioned, Edith, and then definitely environmental factors are also there, which acts as triggers.
Right.
Just that was from my side. Yeah.
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 Anyone else? Yeah,
Yeah, I
Tolly?
can add to that. Yeah, look, obviously it goes without saying that genetic predisposition can cause you to be more prone to mental health issues. So that's definitely number one point. But also the decisions that we make in our lives can also impact on our mental health. So poor diet, increased alcohol consumption and drug consumption, particularly marijuana, for example. If you have you're predisposed to schizophrenia and you have a family history, marijuana can exacerbate those symptoms. So I think making positive choices and taking care of ourselves and our well-being, it's not the panacea. It's not going to solve everything, as I said, but it can go a long way to helping reduce the severity of our symptoms. And also seeing a therapist and psychologist can help reduce those triggers, if you will.
Right, right. Thank you. Now we finally have Gloria. Gloria, we are actually asking the question, what triggers to mental illness? Would you like to give us some suggestions? Unmute yourself.
Okay, there are series of factors that triggers mental illness. For instance, we have the psychological factors, which could be maybe the loss of a loved one, accidents. It could also be traumatic experiences. We also have environmental factors, maybe as a result of disasters, wars, conflict, or maybe change of environment from one place to the other. Other factors could be biological factors as a result of maybe genetic, yes, hereditary genetics. And other factors could be the use of drugs, drugs and substance use. Those are factors that could trigger mental illness. Yes,
Right.
thank you.
Anyone else has anything else to add before we move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Vivian.
Yes, I can say that the thing that triggers mental illness is also can be caused by a reaction of the environmental stress, genetic factor.
Okay, I think we're losing you a little bit there, Vivian.
Biological and the treatment, maybe individual disorder.
Yeah, we kind of, you froze for a little bit, so we didn't quite hear that whole sentence. Can you please repeat it?
Okay. I say it may be caused by it may be caused by a reaction of environmental stress, genetic and factor, by chemical imbalance of this with proper care and treatments. Many individuals learn how to cope or recover from mental illness or emotional disorder.
Thank you, thank you. And what is the difference between mental illness and madness? Who wants to tackle this one?
Okay. Um, the mental illness is a wide range of conditions that affect mood, thinking, and behaviors. While the madness is a mental disorder where a person is unable to understand the present conditions. Thanks.
Yeah, who wants to elaborate more on this one? What's the difference between mental illness and madness?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. What I'd say is mental illness is a broad term for both mild and severe illness. So for mild illness, we could have like anxiety or mild depression. And severe, we could have like bipolar and the schizophrenia. So mental illness is a broad term to describe the illnesses. But when we come to madness, which is insanity, we are talking about the psychotic disorders when someone loses touch with reality, such as schizophrenia. So madness or insanity is more specific to psychotic disorders. Thank you.
Okay. I can see David is trying to log in, but I'm not able to get him in. Anybody else who wants to add to that? What's the difference between mental illness and madness? Any other point of view?
Yeah, basically, just on a general person basis, we can say that madness is that sort of behavior which is not accepted in a particular cultural setting. Okay, but when it comes, it varies culture to culture. Like one thing can be suitable in a certain culture, and that must not be suitable in another culture. So it varies from culture to culture. Uh, So, on the basis of that, we can say that there's no certain basis of identifying madness or insanity. It's basically not a scientific term, and from psychological standpoint, there's nothing exists like insanity or mental illness. Usually, we used to say that, "What the hell are you doing? Are you mad? Have you gone mad?" So we just use that as a very general term. But when it comes to mental illness, then definitely they are defined, well defined diseases, like we are having physical diseases in terms of diabetes or cancer or whatever. So in the same way, when it comes to mental illness, uh, there are different categories like schizophrenia, psychotic disorders, epilepsy, and a lot more. So we can categorize them clearly. But when it comes to mental illness or insanity, that term is being used in a very general, mostly
Right.
even, yeah, all of us use that. Whenever you just lost your mind, then we use that. Yeah, have you gone mad? That's very general.
Yes, a lot of people use the word, are you crazy or I'm
Yeah,
crazy? And it's just
definitely.
a very interesting word to use. Now we've got David. David, did you want to say something about the difference between mental illness and madness?
Yes, good morning to our panelists and whoever is watching us, and thanks to the leadership of the organization. Yes, looking at the term you have just brought up for us to bring the difference on mental illness and madness. Those terms, in terms of practice, uh, mental health wise, madness is not a term that is accepted by us because it's kind of stigmatizing. Yeah, so, but when you go to the cultural perspective in our local parlance, they term mental illness as madness. So this is just what we need to know. When you go out there to the community, when someone is having mental illness, they term the person as being mad. Yes, so this is basically the difference. That is about the local settings name they give. So you go to every culture, they have the name they categorize the people. Like you go to the northern aspect of my country, if someone is having madness, they tell me they can simply call it in English. They term it in that is their language. Yes. So then in Twi, they call it abodam, something like that. But in terms of practice, all those things all are termed mental illness. So this is a term that is used interchangeably depending on the acceptance of whoever is using it. But they are not different terms. It's one term. But in as much as we move to work on stigmatization, work on terms that will be accepted by society.
Okay, I think we lost David.
I think David's got his mic on mute.
When you look at since mental illness was discovered or started, you can see that in UK they were terming them mad houses and those things. So this is how those things have termed. And in as much as we move, we try to work at issues in terms of advocacy and also move along to terms that are accepted by us all. So this is basically what we have. So I want our panelists and our listeners to know that madness and mental illness is that is using that depend on. I can say mental is also mental health literacy of whoever is using that term. So that is just basically what we know. Yes.
Yes, thank you, David. Anyone else wants to add to that? What's the difference between mental illness and madness? Okay, so if you've just joined us, we are talking about young people's perception about mental health. Please click and share to spread the word so more young people can be aware about mental health and what mental illness is all about. So moving forward, Edith, Vivian, did you want to say something? Edith? Okay. So our understanding of mental illness has changed dramatically over a period of decades. What are the positives to the current approach to how we talk about mental illness as a society, and how can we break down those boundaries?
I can speak. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I think prejudices and attitudes, they've come a long way. We understand mental illness a lot more than we did several decades ago. I think, even my grandparents, it was something that they didn't talk about. We talk about the stoic figure, if you like. There was a Greek ideal of we didn't talk about mental illness at all in those days. But nowadays, what I'm most encouraged about is that we talk about the positives of the brain being plastic, that we have capacity to change our minds for the better. And even if there are challenges, there's always degrees that we can try and improve those symptoms. So if we have something quite severe, it's not going to go away. You can just reduce the severity. So a lot of treatments we talk about, cognitive behavioral therapy, that's, I think, an incredible treatment that's come a long way over 10 years. It's very much linked to the idea of changing our thoughts and challenging our existing narrative, the narrative we run in our mind. And doing that can change how we feel, which can then help reduce the severity of a particular illness we have. I don't really like to use the term illness, but for the purposes of this exercise, I'll call it that. I think the next step is, as I said earlier in the conversation, I feel there's still too much of a stigma of talking about it, particularly in the workplace. We're too afraid to say to our boss or manager that we're not feeling well today. And it's not because we have a cold, it's because we haven't been feeling quite well within ourselves. And I think if we can take that next step, then that will go a long way to some of the advances that we've made over the past decade in terms of challenging the thoughts and being able to talk about it better as a society. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know that's actually a challenge with a lot of people in workplaces. It's almost like you have to have a mental health day off just to nourish yourself back and get yourself back together. Yeah, that's a good one. So who else wants to add on what are some positive approaches and how can mental health, mental illness, how can we as a society do anything about this?
Now, previously, there were questionable treatments when it comes to mental illness. But nowadays, as a society and as aware people, we just understand that, yeah, mental illness is treatable. And they are perfectly, perfectly set norms of treatment, as well like a set of treatment. Like people use CBT, then NLP, then medications are there. Then definitely people who know, and definitely psychoeducation is the need of the hour for improving this condition and getting out of that stigma. And apart from that, now those who know, they know better that combination of medication along with psychotherapy is amazing treatment. And definitely mental illness is completely treatable. I'm saying treatable, so there are two things: one is curable, one is treatable. So when it comes to mental illness, that's treatable with the combination of medication as well psychotherapy. And the most important thing, winning over any sort of mental health issue, is that emotional support system. That ecosystem, that support system. That's something very important. So that's the thing which really people need to be aware of. Like just without emotional support, no one can win over that thing. That's already something very hard, which one can go through possibly in their life. Mental illness is such a thing. So there it becomes very important that strengthening that emotional support behind them, with them, and along with that all treatment process. And then definitely psychotherapies and medications are there. So people need to be aware about that. It's treatable. There's nothing like that. They can't live their life, they can't enjoy their life. Definitely they can.
Thank you. Thank you.
That
Anyone
was from my
else?
side.
Yeah. Anybody else wants to say something, make a comment?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for that question. I'd like to say that we've really come a long way in trying to educate people, and slowly mental health has started to be accepted in the society. And so some of the positives are that people have started accepting it, and just having that self-acceptance, increased self-esteem, and improved self-expression. Like people can be able to express how they are feeling because they already have an idea of what mental health or what mental illness is all about. Then people are able to manage their emotions, and just, it has just also relieved the feelings of anxiety and depression. So what we need to do in order to break down the boundaries further, maybe we could incorporate mental health in the workplace, and just to educate people and make people know that it's okay even when you're not feeling okay. It's just fine, and it's okay to speak about it. What about incorporating it in the school curriculum so that when students are being taught, mental health could be part of the curriculum, just to help them get an idea of what mental health is all about. Then creating a supportive environment. When someone expresses themselves, we need to have people who can be able to support them and not stigmatize them. Then strengthen the community action. So the community also needs to be made aware and just strengthened so that they can also be able to help the other community members. Yeah, and building policies that would actually improve the mental health of our nation and our society. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Edith. Anyone else wants to comment or add anything to this? Gloria, David?
Yes. So what I want to add is that, first of all, since history and generations, every society, every community has ever recorded or have seen someone with mental illness. So they cannot say that mental illness or people with mental disorders are not with them. So the community or the society is really aware that there is presence of mental illness in the society. So as there is a presence of mental illness in the society, the community has its own stakeholders. That is one. The community has its own structures. That is two. The community or the society has its own modalities of treatment. That is three. And also, we, the practitioners, are now coming in to support these societies to be able to understand. Because I used to go to faith-based healers to speak on mental illness and stuff, then community derbers, entering into various ethnic backgrounds, the marginalized communities and societies. So I get to know that a lot of them are not even aware that there are available mental health services in the municipalities they find themselves. So the first point of call when they have mental illness is to go to the prayer camp or go to the shrine. So that means that the stakeholders in that community have over the period accepted the traditional way of handling mental illness. So the stakeholders have a say, they have a structure whereby when you are sick and they think the signs and symptoms you are exhibiting is mental illness, they send you to the shrine or the prayer camp. So now what are we to do? Now, education is going on radio stations at the community level and the society level. So we know it's a cluster of structures and issues that form the society. So we must first of all ensure that parents are educated enough on the causes of mental illness, of which most of us are doing it in our societies and communities. So in as much as we take them through this education, they will be able to understand that when someone is sick and the chief in my community is saying that we should send the person to the shrine, no, the best place is the mental health unit or the hospital. So this is the only thing I think we can do now to solve the problem. And a lot are still not sure that they can get support from the orthodox settings or the hospitals, because over the period, they used to think the best place you can go is the prayer camp or the shrine. And they are there as we speak. I was in a prayer camp last week and I can still find people in chains. I was like, how? But we have hospitals just some 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers away from that prayer camp. You see, the problem about healthcare and mental health services is that the people try to do whatever they think is best for them. They don't look at how they can assess possible avenues. But it is incumbent upon we, the professionals, to also make our services available to them. So we are now going to provide services at the prayer camps for these people so that we could be able to remove them from the chains. That is it. So this is basically what some of us are seeing around. The society structure or the community structure really affects mental health care, because immediately someone is having mental illness, the vocal person, the one who can move, will tell them that I have the resources, I know where we can get support, therefore we are going to the shrine or the prayer camp. So you, the secular, that time mentally you are not stable. Even the family members who could know better, or the immediate family members, because they don't have the resources, they have to what? Condone with this person who is pushing them to wherever they think support. And they are always looking at where, should I say, affordability is relatively low, because they see the shrine and the prayer camp, no cost and stuff. The hospital, they will admit you, they will inject you in terms of brief psychotic episodes and stuff. So we have a lot to really do to our people, especially parents, and also at workplaces. So thanks so much. And this is what some of us are seeing around. And in some communities, we need to actually do a lot to ensure that our societies are informed enough in terms of mental illness, because a lot, until you go out there, you will not even know that someone is in chain. It took me a year to even take off somebody from the chain in the community I found myself in, because whenever I go and ask, they tell me there is nobody. Then I pick up the information. I didn't want to rush, because most of them, because of stigmatization and stuff, they would like to hide the people who are having mental illness, even from the entire community. Until someone who is brave and think that you can support come to you, it is always hard. It could take you even 5 years before you can discover that someone is in the chain, because of our society and community structures. So we must work at those things and be able to move forward to support our people. Mental illness, it could be you. Yeah.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Gloria, did you have something to add on to that before we move on to the next question?
Okay, thank you for this question. I think the other panelists did a great job, but I would love to emphasize more on just one point. That's the need for effective sensitization and creation of more mental health services. More mental health services. Okay, in our society today, mental illness is often seen as a taboo or an abomination. So if the government or organizations can create more mental health services that could be easily available or accessible to young people, and I think that would be a very nice thing to do. And also, if we could also create more awareness on the causes of mental illness, the signs and the symptoms, and also how we can handle or maintain a good mental illness. I think that is one great approach that this could be reduced. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So how can we talk about mental health more constructively among the youth? Who wants to give that a go? How do we communicate this to the youth, to the young people? Taking away the fears of stigmatization as well.
Yeah. Can I start?
Sure.
Yeah. So how can we communicate this to the youth constructively? First of all, we have to look out for what actually the problems are. Currently, and looking at the situation we find ourselves, you can see that a lot of youth are having mental health issues. We can mention a whole lot of them, but the most predominantly ones are substance-related of which most of the youths are in substance abuse. And the substances they abuse, we know are the marijuana, the alcohol, some even human fecal matter, they dry and smoke, some super glue, they sniff, some the pad, sanitary pad the women use, they boil the water in it and drink and they get booze. So these are the things they get themselves involved in. And what makes them get involved in is because of one situation or the other. So what we can do best is to ensure that we create more opportunities for them to voice out their issues. So in my organization, what I do is that I have virtual platforms, one-on-one and stuff. So I have this platform I create for only youth mental health issues. So I come, those who have issues, they call in and those stuff. I go on radio, I talk. So you come one-on-one, I counsel you. The need be, if I send you to the mental health unit of which I am there, we move you on. So we must ensure that we provide readily available mental health services to these young ones. And I've taken a couple of them out of the substance abuse disorders, and even some who don't even know that they have mental illness, because they will be facing some kind of weird signs and symptoms. They end up in the prayer camp. When I go and I give talk there, you see them walk to my office that, Dave, I think what you were speaking about, I have such a problem. So you could better help me. I said, no problem. So it's about we creating the opportunities and ensuring that more sensitization should be done at the community level where we find the people. I always tell whoever I meet that we shouldn't sit in our offices and think that everything out there is okay. We must move to where we can find the young ones, the Okada stations, the lorry park stations. We should go to the churches. We should go to the schools. We should go to community debate grounds, entertainment centers, and preach the good messages of mental health services that we have, and also showing them some signs and symptoms of common mental illnesses that they could be going through. If you have sleep disturbances, if you can't eat, probably you cannot concentrate enough. These are all possible signs that you could be having to show that you will be mentally be stable. So we must create the opportunities, yeah, for them.
Thank you, David. Anyone else wants to add to that amazing insight from David? How can we talk about mental health more constructively among our youth? Yes, Vivian.
Yeah. Talking about mental health is very important, but it can be difficult to open up sometimes. If you are struggling to talk about mental health, we have to look into the few tips first. The first tip is remember that you're not alone. The next one is remember that you will feel probably great once you reveal about your mental illness to someone. If you cannot be able to open up, write a letter. If you're afraid of talking to the person about your physical illness or mental illness, you can write a letter to the person. The next one is like some people be afraid of talking to someone about his or her mental illness. Speaking at the mirror, have a long way to go before you can talk to someone about if you're struggling to talk about your mental illness. The next one is the next one we talk about talking about your mental illness does not matter. Look for a therapist or psychologist who can assist you in those aspects. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, definitely. You're not alone. If you're watching this tonight, just remember you're not alone, like Vivian said. There's a lot of help out there, and seek help if you can. If you know, there's counselors, psychologists, there's places that you can actually talk about mental health. Now, is anyone else wanted to add anything before we move on to the second last question?
Yes,
Edith?
sure. The language that we use is very important, because language can be detrimental or it can be instrumental. So the words we use when we are speaking to the youth, for example, don't like use diagnostic terms to put the person first. For example, don't say that someone is bipolar. You say that someone has bipolar. And also don't use words like crazy or insane. Yeah, just use words that can uh, can help people but not cause more harm. Then we also need to look at the underlying factors. So educate the youth on what underlying factors that could lead to mental illness, and also just giving them a narrative, like reconstructing a narrative, because there is a very negative narrative around mental illness, and many people think that someone cannot recover, but we have so many people who've recovered from mental illness and they are still working. And so people with mental illness can also be successful. So it doesn't mean that they are failures. So just creating that positive narrative and helping people understand what mental illness is all about. Thank you.
Now, Edith, give us an example of how to, you're saying not to tell them they're bipolar or crazy. Give us an example of a sentence. How would you speak to someone?
For example, you don't say that Mary is bipolar, So instead of saying that, you could say that Mary has bipolar, so that you detach the person from the illness. Because when you say that Mary is bipolar, it means it's like stigmatizing that person. Yeah, so just the same way you can say with physical illness, you can say someone is cancerous. Such a thing, you say someone has cancer, yeah. So just the person from that. And also, you don't say mentally retarded. Instead, you could say someone has an intellectual disability or something like that. Instead of saying crazy or psycho, you could say someone just has a mental illness. Yes, like such words.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to add to that?
Yeah, basically we should avoid labeling persons. Yeah, labeling anyone that this person is having uh, psychopath, this person is psychopath, or this person is psychotic or schizophrenic. Just avoid that. Just, yeah, usually we all of us are having some problems in our life. We have day by day, just we feel some physical problems like pain somewhere in our body, sometimes fever. So it's fine to have some mental illness just in the same way. It's nothing that big a deal. It's just that simple. Just don't complicate it. Just simplify. Yeah.
Thank you.
Simplifying things really works well. That's something. And definitely just, like convey someone that, yeah, we're not going to judge you. That already comforts a person very much, because being judged is such a fear that, yeah, people just step back from speaking up about what's going within them. So whenever
That's,
we assure them, yeah, that we are not going to judge you, feel free, feel comfortable, like you are completely free and feel comfortable to share what's going within you, what's disturbing you. It's okay to feel like that, and it's perfectly fine to share that with someone. So
yes.
that assurance is much needed, so that they
Thank,
can come forward. That's what.
thank you. So now if you could go back in time 10 years, what would you tell your younger selves about dealing with and overcoming mental illness?
Yeah, I would say just stay strong. What's one, two, or even three bad years in the grand scheme of our lives? So I remember that when I was deferred from university, I went through quite a rough time about almost 10 years ago. And we often think that our problems are insurmountable, but the fullness of time and hindsight, thankfully, always proves us wrong. So I would always say, no matter what hole you think you're in, no matter whether you think you've reached the bottom, there's always a better day tomorrow, and just be patient. And as I said earlier, do your best to treat your symptoms and be kind to yourself, and know that, in hindsight will prove that everything was okay in the end. So, but importantly, I would say I'd be conscious of the decisions that I make as well. I think many years ago I was very, I guess, loose with, going out and having late nights, drinking a lot, and I didn't realize what impact this actually had on my own mental health. And I think now I know that mental health is like a cold. If you feel sick, you treat it, right? So make sure that you treat your feelings just as well as you would an illness, and be kind, gentle to yourself, and take care of yourself.
Thank you, Tolly. Anyone else wants to add what, if you went back in time 10 years, what would you tell your younger self about dealing with or overcoming mental illness?
Okay, well, I'd say that about 10 years ago, I lost my biological father, and it really had a toll on my mental health because I somewhat got into depression. And the reason for that is because I wasn't able to talk to someone or to just to express what I was feeling. I felt like I wasn't doing enough for myself so that I could be able to heal from that. So, what I would tell myself if it was like at this particular time, speaking out is very important. When you're going through a difficult time, it's very important to find someone that you can confide in. So speaking out and not being so hard on yourself, because it's not your fault. Whatever you're feeling is not your fault. So don't be hard on yourself. And also seek support, talk to someone, and also just knowing that it's okay. It's just okay to feel whatever you're feeling, so don't put so much pressure on yourself. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Edith. Anyone else before we go to the final question? Okay, so what are some, yes, somebody,
Okay, I wanted to say something.
yes?
Okay, if I would advise my younger self, I would advise my younger self to take activities slow and steady. and also to have a positive attitude towards life. And also would advise my younger self to be calm, to always be hopeful, to know that there is always hope and there's always light at the end of the tunnel, no matter the challenges I may have faced. Then, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so going to the last question, what are some ways to manage good mental health? Gloria, you're in the seat.
All right, okay. There are some practices that one could adopt to maintain or to manage a good mental health. Number one, I would say feel free to talk to someone when you have mental illness or you begin to observe the signs and symptoms of mental illness. Feel free to talk to a loved one or feel free to seek medical help. It's very, very important. And another point is that pay attention to what and how you feed. Your nutrition is very, very important. Pay attention to what you feed. Another is exercises is very, very important too. It helps you concentrate. It helps you live healthier. Okay, another point, it's also try to rest well. Sleep is very, very important and it's relevant to having a good mental health. So sleep and okay, yes, so sleep properly. Okay, another point is I also encourage that we learn to take things slow and steady, when you learn to take things slow and steady. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Anyone else wants to ask or add before we conclude? What are some ways to manage good mental health? I know Gloria summarized them beautifully, so anything you can add to that would be great.
Yeah, so I would say why to wait when we just go through this? Why not to work from the very beginning? And the very beginning is just self care. That's already a very broad term in itself, and which includes self love, self compassion, self care, self confidence, self esteem, and all that. And definitely, one need to work on all of these for maintaining their mental health, which is very basic to their existence, the essence of being human. And one more thing, that we all need to develop that very much strong ecosystem, very much strong support system around us, so that whenever we just fell down, then we can get down, just we can get up from that fall. So that
Thank you.
support system will definitely help us maintaining with that. And one more thing I feel nowadays, that yeah, just we must not lose connection with our roots, because nowadays mental health issues are rising like a hell. And the main reason behind this is, I feel that people are losing connection with their roots, with their basic values. That's something which gives people strength from within, and that really helps them to overcome any tough situation,
Thank you. Thank
which
you.
which possibly nowadays people are lacking. So they are lacking because they are just losing that connection. So that connection just needs to be rebuild, that connection from values, from roots. And definitely meditation and yoga are wonderful, that works wonders. So I would say, yeah, if you can, then definitely go for that. Take care of yourself, be compassionate with yourself as well with others, take care of yourself and your loved ones, and always feel high. Just boost your self confidence, use your time constructively, exercise, a lot of things.
Thank
When you
you.
engage yourself constructively, then there's no way to just get that far. And by any chance, if you get that, then definitely you'll get up with full force. So that was from my side.
Thank you. Now, before we conclude, I know there's so many ways to protect and manage your mental health and well-being. So we're talking about everybody else. So this is about yourselves. So what is one thing you do every day for yourself on a daily basis to check in with your mental health? We'll start with you, Deepshika, because you're on the state.
Sure. Definitely. So I really, just madly love in with meditation. I really go for that. That's daily part of my routine, yoga and meditation. And always I just recommend that to my clients and whosoever come around me. I just recommend that please go for it. It's something
Thank you.
amazing. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Tolly, what is the one thing you do every day to manage and check in with your mental health?
Well, since we started working from home during the pandemic, I would walk every morning, and that's my way of commuting to work. I grab myself a takeaway coffee, and I walk on the same routine. My partner always jokes that I finish the exact sip of coffee at the same point in the walk, that it's become very cyclical and routine. But I tell you what, it's the best way to unwind and get prepared for your working day. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Thank you. Thank you. What about Edith? What is one thing you do every day to check in with your mental health?
Mine is relaxation techniques, and meditation always works out well for me. And also, just to add on it, it's important to have friends. Like, don't have that social isolation. Just ensure that you have a group that you have common goals together, so you could always have a sense of belonging. And also just setting realistic goals so that you don't chew more than you can swallow. So because also goals give you a direction and a sense of purpose in life. And also asking for help. When you have an issue, it's very important to ask for help. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. What about David? What is it you do for yourself every day to check in with your mental health? David? Okay. What about Gloria?
Okay, basically I do three things daily. First is I try to exercise because it's very, very important. And secondly, I try to have a schedule of every single activity I want to do daily. And also, finally, I try to smile, have this positive attitude towards life, that no matter what, even though my day didn't maybe go as planned, I always tend to have this positive attitude towards life.
Thank you. Thank you. What about David?
Yes, I think a lot of the panelists have spoken on what some of us do, but there's something we are forgetting. What I do is to ensure that my nutrition is always something that I don't joke with. If it's 7 o'clock, I need to take my breakfast. I take my lunch 1 p.m., then my dinner 6 p.m. or 5:30 p.m. and I'm cool. Then also my phone, I try to either put it on silence or switch it off whenever I'm exhausted, to be able to have that enough rest. If not, a message coming or probably a call coming can distract you forever, because most of the youth now, I've seen, like, they are so glued to their phones than even food. Then also I do exercise almost every 3 times in a week. I have friends I talk to after work when I'm a little bit tired, put my phone and everything else, so I just be alone and talk with them. Then we try to remember things. Then we
Thank
make
you. Thank
fun,
you.
sit somewhere relaxing. Yeah.
Thank you. What about Vivian? How do you check in with your mental health on a daily basis?
And I would like to add on something very important, which I really feel is, yeah, must have that me time for each one of us. That's something very important. That's our powerhouse from where we get all our strengths. That's equally important for each one of us. Must have that me time, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Vivian, are you still here with us? What's your one thing you do every day to check in with your mental health? Okay, I'm not sure if we've lost Vivian. Now, Edith, can you tell us where can people go to find information about the Global Youth Mental Health Awareness?
Okay, people can find the information on our website, which is www.globalyouthmentalhealthawareness.org, or email jude@jimha.org, or on our social media platforms. That's on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And that's all for today. Thank you for the fabulous insights and for being an amazing panelist. You know, I think, like we all heard tonight, you know, if you don't, you're not alone in this, please ask for help. Everybody's out there to help you. So if you're struggling and you think you're not sure, just ask for help. And remember, you're not alone. Thank you, viewers, for being a fabulous audience and for watching the Global Youth Mental Health Awareness Show. Now, for next week, our topic is on addictions and mental health. So stay tuned and we'll see you next Thursday, same time, 8 p.m. Bye for now.